Daily Podcast. It is July 21st. We're going to talk about stuff today. Yes, we are. I'm running for Congress. Vote for me in November. Give to my campaign, DeanArnoldForCongress.com. I'm bringing sanity to an insane world. Yes, I am. Like, subscribe, share. Comments and questions, welcome. Oh, yeah. When you do these podcasts, there's a thing called a microphone that you should use. So let me repeat real quick what I just said. This is Dean Arnold's Daily Podcast. I'm running for Congress. Vote for me. Give to DeanArnoldForCongress.com. Like, share, subscribe. I'm bringing sanity to an insane world. And I'm going to do that by bringing the microphone up to the mouth. Okay. It's July 21st. And today we're going to talk about soccer. Is that what they call it? Do you have to call it football? Football? I call it soccer. I'm going to call it soccer. I don't care. You know, it's kind of like the whole Kiev thing, or isn't there another one of those where you got to say it the right way? You have to say Ukraine instead of the Ukraine. And what's another one where the Karens get all on you that you have to say it the exact right way? First it was El Nusra or something, and Al Qaeda, and then it became ISIS, and then it became ISIL, and they're always playing with you because they want to. They sort of take sovereignty over reality by taking sovereignty over the words and the terminology and keeping you always guessing. Soccer. We're going to talk about soccer today. And I watched it. I watched a good bit of the World Cup, more than I have in times past. I liked it okay. And we'll get into that. But it's got good and it's got bad. And we'll talk about that. It seems to be like a lot of things, I guess, these days. It's very divisive. There's just soccer partisans. Guys I went to college with and stuff played soccer, and they're I got family members who are into soccer, and it's just soccer. It's the greatest thing ever, and you can never criticize it. And if you do criticize it, they get all, bent out of shape. And then you got the people on the other side. There's people who hate soccer. They just hate it. And neither of those positions is right. There's a happy medium. And I am here to bring you the happy medium, the balance, the truth, the sanity. So we'll talk about that today. All right. Scripture of the day. Let me bring this thing down so we have a little more. Oh, look at that. Okay. First, we'll start with the epistle, which is 1 Corinthians 10. Let's read this. But with most of them, God was not pleased. These are the Israelites running around in the wilderness for 40 years, for their bodies were scattered in the wilderness. Now, these things became our examples, to the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. So their bodies were torn in the wilderness because they lusted after evil things. And do not become idolaters as some of them were, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and they rose up to play. Like watching too much World Cup soccer? Well, I watch a lot of sports too. Got to keep it in check, not too much. Nor let us commit sexual immorality, as some of them did. And in one day, 23,000 fell. God's not messing around when it comes to sexual immorality. Our culture doesn't believe that. Our culture has moved on from that, laughing, ha, 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 but ultimately, it's not going to be funny. Nor let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed by serpents. Nor complain, as some of them also complained and were destroyed by the destroyer. I'll stop there. The main takeaway from this is it's pretty basic stuff, but with the Christian Zionism going on today, we just kind of lost our minds, and we've lost all common sense and just regular good old mom and dad, grandpa and granddad common sense reality, and we've gone into weird positions. But almost all the Jews I guess like all of them, except like Moses and Aaron and Joshua and Caleb, their bodies were scattered in the wilderness after 40 years. Why? This passage makes it really clear, because they were disobedient. They were sinful. They were into sexual immorality. And so God made sure their bodies were scattered in the wilderness. Why do we think it's any different today? Why do we think the Jews today can act however they want and be the capital of LGBT in the world in Tel Aviv, and can go around killing all their neighbors and genociding Gaza, and there's no consequences? When the actual Jews who were actually in a covenant with God in the Old Testament, they all got killed for it. You had to be obedient. Now, these Jews who are not in a covenant with God, that's all over with. The covenant is with Christ and his church. Now, somehow, the Christian Zionists get into some weird, cockamamie, insane, non-common sense position that, hey, the Jews can do whatever they want. There's no consequences for sin anymore. We don't care about sexual immorality. Oh, that's passe. Well, we Christians ought to do our best to be moral in terms of sexuality, but the Jews, they can do whatever they want because they're the Jews. No, it's over, and it'll be shown. I don't know what this 21,000 killed in one day is going to look like in our modern time day, but there'll be a reckoning, because God is just. All right. Matthew chapter 16. Then Jesus said to them, "Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees." Okay, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but the disciples were like, "Is he saying that because we forgot to bring bread on the boat?" And they go back and forth, and Jesus says, why are you saying this? You think it's about the fact that you didn't bring bread on the boat? I'm talking about the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He said, I'm talking about their teaching. Beware of the teaching. Okay, so it's kind of a funny story. The disciples can be really hard-headed and dumb. And I imagine I would have too if I'd been in their position. But what is the doctrine of the Pharisees and the Sadducees that he's talking about? I'm not really sure. One of them is militarism, wanting to have a Messiah who came in as a conquistador to destroy their enemy, Rome. That was one of their false teachings. That was not a good teaching. And they didn't like Jesus for talking about peace. Another teaching was letter of the law. You break the letter of the law, we are going to hurt you. We're going to prosecute you. Even though we're breaking the letter of the law, but since you can't figure it out, since it's under a bushel and dark, we're going to get you for breaking the letter of the law. So letter of the law, unforgiveness, judgmentalism, not bearing with and loving one another. That was another doctrine of the Pharisees and Sadducees. I'll stop there because I'm sure there's more, and maybe some of you can chime in with comments and questions and let me know. And I've already got some comments. We'll get to those when we get to the soccer. Thank you, guys. Keep them coming. All right, so that is the scripture of the day. Now let's talk about the saint of the day, which is an Old Testament prophet named Ezekiel. Prophet Ezekiel lived in the 6th century before Christ. He was in the tribe of Levi. He was a priest. He was led off to Babylon from Jerusalem in exile when he was 25 years old. And when he was 30, he had this very famous vision. It's in Ezekiel chapter 1 that most of you would be familiar with, but he sees 4 living creatures in the shape of a man with 4 faces, face of a man, lion, eagle, ox. It gets repeated in Isaiah and then again in Revelation chapter 4. And we've done a podcast on that, but it's a very famous vision. It's very exciting. Wheels within wheels, and there's a firmament above their heads, and that firmament appears again and again, and appears in a strange black kind of a way when Christ was on trial, and it says there's this pavement in front of him and Pilate, et cetera, et cetera. He says the people of Israel's tribulations was because they were not remaining faithful to God. Recurring theme. It ain't just the DNA. The DNA ain't good enough. You also have to be obedient and godly. Crazy idea. He has a vision about the bones and that sort of thing. He had the gift of wonder working. I'd never really heard of that, but they list a couple of things. He was condemned to execution, Ezekiel was. I got a godson named Ezekiel, so I like the name. We call him Zeke. Ezekiel was condemned to execution because he denounced a certain Hebrew prince for idolatry. So it was his own people that got him. That's pretty familiar. He was bound to wild horses. He was torn to pieces. And then some pious Hebrews gathered up the torn body of the prophet and buried it in the tomb of Sem and Arphaxad, forefathers of Abraham, not far from Baghdad. So not far from Baghdad in Babylon, they buried Ezekiel in the tomb of Sem and Arphaxad, who were forefathers of Abraham. So Abraham's way before Ezekiel. And then way before Abraham is Sem and Arphaxad. They had a tomb. So they were keeping track of the tombs and doing a good job back then. And that's a good old traditional, old school, the right way to live. We need to do more of that. This cremation thing is awful. Don't do it. Take care of your graves and your cemeteries now and honor your forefathers and the graves like we're supposed to. A little brief aside, my wife is kind of old school Southern, poor, not aristocratic or anything, but her peoples, when she was a kid, on Sunday afternoon, it was very common for them to go over to the cemetery and eat a sandwich or something and take care of the cemeteries of their parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents. Cut the weeds, put a couple flowers on there. Very common tradition, old school Southern tradition. We've lost all that. We need to gain it back. Honor and revere the graves of your forefathers. And I think I'll stop there. Gotta light this thing. I got some more cigars coming that are going to do a little better job. These haven't been great. Okay, though, but not great. And so we're going to have to do it again. Watch closely. We're going to do one on cigars. That'll be fun. All right. Soccer. Soccer. Or football. Since we've already got some comments about the soccer topic, let's hit them now instead of later. I need sucker from soccer. All right, I could Google it, but I'm doing a live stream right now. But sucker, I think that word means help or encouragement or something. And he needs some sucker from soccer. It's pretty funny. Next one from Scott. Isn't soccer a derivative of the Aztec game, of an Aztec game? You know, I meant to do a wiki on soccer to see where it came from because I'm going to have some opinions on that are probably right, but you never know. I don't know. I don't think so. My guess is that soccer is just a gimmick. All sports use the arms and hands. That's the key thing for anything when you're doing something athletic. You know, you already got all these team sports doing all these different things, and someone came up with this gimmick. Hey, let's do it where you just use your feet. You don't even use your hands. I like it. That's a creative idea. I got no problem with that. But I wouldn't make it the number one sport. It's a gimmick. I digress. I'll get back to that. Jews pushing porn everywhere as well. Jews are pushing porn everywhere as well. Well, yeah. I'm trying to unshow things. I have to do this. No, can't. There we go. Jews primarily own the porn industry. This is true. The biggest one, Pornhub, is owned by a Jewish rabbi. Don't fall for it, guys. Don't fall for it that the Jews are just righteous and holy and they're following the Old Testament religion. No, they're not. They're righteous and godly and they have their own covenant with God. No, they don't. A rabbi, because Christianity is not too much different in the Protestant world, but you can get rabbis that believe all sorts of crazy things like porn is wonderful. And we have a rabbi who owns Pornhub. Yes, so that's another mark against the Jews, and we can talk about Jews, and it's a very, very complex subject. We need to love the Jews, but we also need to speak frankly about the Jews. And yes, the Jews own porn. Evil, terrible thing. Porn needs to be outlawed. Okay. Thank you, Scott, for those comments. I'll take more. Soccer. The good and the bad. Let's start with the bad, because I think there's actually a lot of good, and I'm gonna end and focus on that. But since we already brought it up, this is my number one problem with soccer. You don't use your arms or your hands. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. Athletics involves arms and hands. It's the main motor skill, coordination, appendage on the body for any kind of sport. There is no other sport where you don't use your arms and hands. I'm happy to be corrected on that. Like I said, it was a creative gimmick. Somebody said, "Hey, let's invent a team sport where you don't use your arms," and that would be kind of make it different, and everybody has to get really skilled with their feet. Okay, that's cool. That was a good idea. It worked. You kind of got on the radar screen, but every other team sport, basketball, baseball, football, whatever. I'll try to take comments along the way. I haven't been able to do that past. Actually, the goalies do. Lots of laugh. Just kidding. That's a fine comment. No, that's true. There is a little bit of arms going on in soccer, and I appreciate that. And probably the best part of the game, the most entertaining part of the game, is when someone takes a shot and you're going to see whether the goalie's going to stop it or not, and he's using his arms. Wow. So yeah, but thank God we do have a little bit of arms going on. But anyway, that's my main problem. It's just not fully human, soccer. It's a bit deformed. It's a bit debilitated. Now, props to these guys who spent their whole lives figuring out how to use their feet. I mean, they are enormously talented and enormously good at it, and using their heads too. And I don't like that part of it either. I mean, you're always worried about somebody cracking their head open. It's just, it's unnerving, but okay. All right. We'll keep doing comments as we go. Kef says, team handball is a great alternative. Played it in middle school, and it's a blast. Kind of a combo of soccer and basketball. Team handball. Okay. What the heck are you talking about? I mean, if it's handball, then it's not really an alternative because you're using your hands. But maybe there's a way to use feet or something. I don't know. But I just don't know. But I'll take your word for it that team handball is a great alternative. Thank you for that comment, Kef. All right, so that's my main gripe with soccer. You don't use your arms and hands. Okay. A few other nitpicky points, which aren't as big, which aren't a deal breaker, but I'll mention them anyway. I hate the way they do the clock. I mean, this whole thing where you don't even know how much time's left. You kind of got to guess, and you never know when the game ends. That's stupid. They could fix that. Why do they do that? Because they're stubborn and they're elitists, and because they got a weird game where you can't use your arms. They got to come up with something else to have something on you. I'm told that in college they actually start from 90 and come down, and they stop the clock when the game stops. So good on them for that. All right. More comments. God bless you. Streaming you at the barbershop. Thank you, Mr. Lucky. Love it. All right. Intercessor. My cousin got a concussion playing soccer. Hitting the ball can be dangerous. Yeah, no doubt. I don't like that part of it. I mean, you know, you can get over it. I mean, there's a part of me that likes something that's risky and manly and dangerous, and you know that part of it I kind of like. But at the same time, as a spectator, I'm just like, that guy's gonna crack his head open. So I don't like it that way. One more here. Wiggle room for rigging. Wiggle room for rigging. I guess you're saying that the World Cup could be rigged, and the wiggle room for rigging. I don't know what that means. Does that have something to do with not using arms? I just don't know. Anyway, so there's the clock confusion. They could fix that. I hate that. Flopping. A lot of flopping going on in soccer. There's a lot of flopping in basketball. You know, watch LeBron James. You're going to see some flops. So it's not just soccer. In football, not as bad. American football, not as bad. But the flopping in soccer is just ridiculous. I don't know how they fix it. I really don't. But it's kind of wussy. Just get tired of it. And low scoring. So not a lot of scores go on, so it's a boring game to watch. Not many shots on the goal. Sometimes there are, but it's a low scoring game, so that makes it not so great. So those are my main problems with soccer and the World Cup. Now, I watched a lot of World Cup games and I enjoyed it. And it's good enough once you get into it, understand a little bit, get the storylines behind the teams and stuff. You know, it's decent to watch. And I enjoyed it. I'll look forward to it 4 years from now. Could I handle a steady diet of it? I'm not sure. Let's get into the good aspects of soccer. It's an international sport. Hey, that's pretty cool. I do like that. I like that each team is representing a country in the world. Of course, I believe that the purpose of history is to disciple the nations. So anything that emphasizes nations, but it's international. Every team represents a country, great esprit de corps and great patriotism and a lot of fun and spirited fandom. I love that. And we don't get a lot of that, you know, American football, basketball is American, or NBA, you know, baseball. Is there another team sport that has that kind of international flavor? I don't think so. I mean, golf and tennis are both international, but it's individual sports. So number one thing, I don't know if it's number one, but I like the international flavor of it. That's very cool. These guys are in shape. No getting around that. These guys are in incredible shape. They are also manly men. I mean, they're hitting each other and they're hurting each other. And even though they're flopping like idiots, nevertheless, there's a lot going on there. Nothing to disrespect there. And then, you know, you can barely make substitutions, you know, in American sports. You know, you can sub in and out all the time. You know, guy gets tired. You know, he hadn't been doing his wind sprints in the gym. Not in soccer. Hey, you're out there and you can barely breathe. You're out of luck. You should have done better training. I like that. That's kind of an old school sense. And similar to that is the fact that there's a rule, this red card rule, where you get kicked out of the game. And there's 11 players on each side. And if you get a red card, you're down to 10 players. That's it. You got to play the rest of the game with 10 players. That is pretty cool. I like that. Don't see that in the NBA or in NFL. I mean, I would enjoy that. I'd like to see an NBA team have to play with 4 players for a little while, or an NFL team have to play with 10 or 9 players. That'd be fun. So I actually like that part of the game. I made a joke that, you know, ticked a few people off. I said Argentina lost because one of their players lost his temper. Argentina got reduced from 11 to 10, and then Spain scored a goal during that time and won the World Cup. Spain had more shots on the goal. They played good defense. That's all true, but I don't think they'd have scored if Argentina had been reduced to 10 players. Also, Argentina has a continuing mojo to kind of play weak the first half, and then as the game goes on, they get stronger and stronger, whereas the game went on, they lost a player. But if they'd have taken it to goal kicks, they'd have probably won. All right, I digress. There's nonstop action in soccer. It's all you could all you don't see. There's not even commercials. That's pretty cool. And now it's a little slow because you got to wait until they finally get near their goal. Oh, then you can kind of get up and look and see if something's going to happen. Usually doesn't. Then the other team gets the ball and you wait until they get close to their goal. So, I mean, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's okay. But it's nonstop action. When I was in Europe 15 years ago, the Super Bowl was on. I was staying at a youth hostel. Youth hostel's misleading. It's a bunch of people, 30, 40 years old. And we're in the common area, and all these Europeans decide they want to watch the American Super Bowl. So we sat down to watch Super Bowl. And they were so ticked. The whole time they were like, they never play. They never play. They go back in this huddle. And then they come out and they play for 5 seconds and they go back in this huddle for 45 seconds. Well, if you step back and put some perspective on it, it's kind of true and kind of funny. But it was also kind of pitiful because, come on, guys, when they do go out there, I mean, it's some serious action. So, yeah, different strokes for different folks. But there is a non-stop action to soccer that NFL football does not have. Basketball has it. Oh, by the way, in hockey, you can also have a situation where you're down a man. So good for hockey on that. What else I got here? Why is soccer so prevalent across the world? It's not like basketball, American football, hockey. Hockey, you understand because of cold weather. I think it's just because it's so easy to set up. All you really need is a ball. You got a soccer ball, you can have a soccer game. You can put up a couple rocks that sort of serve as a goal. Maybe put up a stick, above the rocks. All you need is a ball in a field. And so in third world countries, they can all play it. Set up a basketball goal. That's a little more complex, costs a bit of money. American football, you got to have 11 players on each side, and you got to have a strange oblong kind of ball that's kind of hard to make. Got to have helmets, maybe. Anyway, that's probably why it's so. What is the word I want to use? Where it's everywhere. But that's probably why soccer is just all across the globe. More. I got the comments working like crazy. The extra time. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I hate the extra time. All right. Hate the clock thing. Why does the ref get to decide how much longer the team that's behind gets to try to come back? I mean, there's inequities to it. There's stupidity of it. There's elitist attitudes. We get to know and you don't get to know. There's a lot of this. It's dumb. I predict it'll end eventually. It has to. Lost you, Dean. I think the stream is down. Yes, it was. I hope you're still with me, Scott. Looks like we got more comments, so I think we might be okay. There we go. Thank you. There we go. We were discussing the intricacies of team hacky sack. That's pretty funny. I'm not going to explain it to the audience. They were using, they use a running clock and add time because lower quality teams waste time. I really don't know what that means. I watch it like I watch speed skating in the Olympics. Love it once every 4 years. Thank you. Yeah, and I forgot to mention that, in terms of national pride stuff, there is the Olympics also, but it's also only every 4 years. And it used to not have the best athletes in the world. Now it does. But, yeah, so we got the Olympics. Argentina had 0 attempts on goal the whole game until Spain scored. That is true. But as I said, Argentina has a every game they start slow and then they really rank it up at the end. But as it was time for them to rank it up, they lost a man. They were man down. They had to go defensive instead of offensive. And they didn't have enough players to stop Spain's goals. So I don't think you can make the case that it didn't matter. I think it did matter. Do I still think Spain deserved the win? Yeah, probably. They played a good game. Hockey is one of the only sports I get real enjoyment in watching anymore. Okay, yeah, hockey. I used to watch minor league hockey growing up in my town, and it was good. A lot of fights too. That's a lot of fun. Okay, the last thing I want to leave us with on this subject of the World Cup is just saying, hey, let's back up. I know there's a lot of soccer haters. Oh yeah, I got to bring up one more thing to show you because I think it's funny. Come on now, there it is. So here's Greg on X, and Greg says he's at the top there. He's got 1.4 million followers, guys. He says today's the last day we all have to pretend to like soccer. I think he speaks for a lot of people. But got to back up a little bit because I tend to be on the not so crazy about soccer side. And there's a lot of people who are very enthusiastically on that side. Let's just back up a little and just get some perspective here. It could be a lot worse. I mean, if your 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 14-year-old is obsessed with World Cup soccer, hey, it's not drugs. It's not witchcraft. It's not serial promiscuity. It's not intense violence. It's not geopolitical intervention, destroy all the brown people in Iraq and Gaza. It's none of that. It's World Cup soccer. So this is good. I mean, anything can be corrupted. Anything can be a little bit, problems here and there. But in general, if that's what your kids are obsessed with, okay. Thank you. I'm appreciative of that. It is a decent pastime alternative, and some great players and all the things that come with sports. Hard work, aggression, perseverance. Getting through the tough times, believing in yourself. All those. There's a lot of good things there. So overall, I am a fan of World Cup soccer. I'm bringing sanity to an insane world. Soccer's not insane. It's just a little different and not quite as good as the other team sports because you don't use your arms, but it's still good. Share, subscribe, and like. Today's July 21st. And I think we have one more comment here. Hockey is one of the only sports. That's not the one I'm looking for. Here we go. Too much luck. I mean, Spain dominated and could have easily lost. Hey, that's true. Now, I haven't watched soccer enough to know the intricacies of all that. I mean, you could say, I don't know, they had a heck of a goalie. So, Spain dominated and had a lot of shots, but the goalie was so dang good that they didn't dominate on the actual scoreboard. But yeah, probably so. Some soccer aficionados might want to try to weigh in on this. Just make a comment on YouTube, Facebook, or X on where this is live streamed, and give us your thoughts. But some soccer aficionados can weigh in on how true this is. I mean, have the best teams in general, in the last 20 years made it to the quarterfinals and the semifinals in the World Cup? If that's true, then I don't know how much luck is involved, but it may be. Your point may be well taken. And I don't know the answer. Like, should subscribe, share. We're bringing sanity to an insane world. And we have talked about soccer. This will be another lively one. All right. Over and out.
Dean Arnold.